there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is Josh from IIVII and A Storm of Light, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father. And as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. And today it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome Mr. Josh Graham of IIVII, a visual artist, multi-instrumentalist, and electro-acoustic composer, best known for his work with Neurosis, Red Sparowes, Battle of Mice, and A Storm of Light. He previously released in 2019 via Consouling Sounds Obsidian EP has been released on vinyl now for the first time, actually, via Belgium's Consouling Sounds. And we're talking to Josh about all this stuff. So, Josh, welcome to the show. I believe you're the very first visual artist I've had on here. So, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
How excited are you to hopefully get back out on the road to do some touring and things like this? Are you wanting to take this out onto the road with this EP? What are you actually wanting to do with this right now?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to doing some shows. Right now I'm playing a festival in Belgium in October, and then hopefully a few other shows around that. But it will be, the live shows right now will probably be me and a drummer, and then eventually if we can work it out, like we'll have kind of either add some string players or maybe a vocalist or something like that. But it's kind of keeping it lean and affordable touring right now. So kind of see what the future holds as far as live shows go.
So did you find yourself doing anything differently other than working on music? Did this downtime actually give you the idea to go back and work on some score stuff? I
did. Right when the pandemic started, I had a scoring job. It's a kind of a independent TV show, but it hasn't come out yet. That's kind of the interesting thing about scoring it, especially at I'm basically scoring pretty small projects right now, and you can finish them, and it might take like a couple years or more for them to actually come out. So you kind of just sit on this stuff for an undetermined amount of time. But other than that, like, we had actually just moved to the Seattle area in December, right before everything shut down. And so we just basically spent the most of the year like working on our house. So,
nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got to take care of the family first. That comes first for sure.
Yep.
What led you down the path to possibly be a visual artist? Was it the film with music only that drew you to it, to allow you to let the film speak to people, or what was it, man?
I kind of started doing like visuals with live music when I was really young. Like in high school, we had a band. It was kind of industrial metal sort of band. And we were trying to like integrate like projections and stuff, but we didn't have the money for it. And so we make some stuff like with editing on VCRs and a few televisions, and then kind of evolved into like another band where we got everyone's TV that we knew and like put them all over the stage. And then at one point we rented a television, like a big screen TV from like Rent-A-Center, and put it on stage. And it was like just all kinds of like dumb kid stuff. And then like I've actually started working in motion design, like with, at different like design agencies in Los Angeles for a while. And that's when I hooked up with Neurosis. And initially I was just gonna help them with some side projects that they were working on. And then their visual guy kind of left in I guess like 2001 or something. So that like started me actually working with Neurosis and doing visuals like on a larger scale as far as projections, and then I was doing those in Red Sparrows, and then finally for the first time had like actually like decent projection gear, and so.
So how does it feel to have the Obsidian EP released on vinyl?
Oh, it's great. Now I can actually send a copy of it to Darren Aronofsky, which is pretty exciting because that's what these pieces of music were written for. Like it's kind of convoluted. It's the documentary about the making of the movie Mother. So I scored that, and then it's about 30 minutes long, and you basically get it if you buy the Mother. I think you get it if you buy it digitally and if like DVD or whatever. But so Darren has been like fairly like receptive to my stuff, and he's like, yeah, everybody really loved like your score for that. So I think any chance I can get to send somebody of that stature music feels pretty awesome. So I think that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And plus you did the more traditional instruments on this when you were scoring it. What made you want to just do the traditional besides of adding like stuff out there like synths or electronic stuff?
A friend of mine who actually grew up with Darren is the guy that directed that, Nico Tavernese, and he's a huge like still photographer for movies. He worked on like The Joker and all the Spielberg movies and stuff. So like a lot of the poster images you see for those movies are photos he took while he was on set. So
oh wow,
whenever he works with Darren, he usually gets kind of two jobs. With Darren, like he does the still photography stuff, and then he does like the documentaries. So I actually helped Nico film the actual recording of the score for the movie that was done by Johan Johansson. And so we were there for like 3 days filming everything, and so I was seeing the arrangement and like kind of all the instruments that he was using, and I felt like I would do for the documentary like should fit within like his, not like stylistically like musically I guess, but like I thought as far as instrumentation I should make it fit. So then I was working on the documentary, and then actually Darren decided that the movie was better without the score. so they kind of took out like Johan's score completely out of the entire movie. So it just kind of, then I ended up with what I had written that was related to the original score, but then didn't really matter at that point. So it's kind of entertaining, I guess.
I've got to ask this before we go any further. What movie would you have liked to have done the visual artwork for? There's got to be a movie that you said, man, I wish I could have done that one.
I would say visually, like probably 2001, like especially they were doing all this slit scan stuff, which is how they did the Jupiter and Beyond, like that when he's going into like these other dimensions. But they did it all with film and mirrors and everything. So I think I'm really interested in like the practical, like real life visuals a little bit more so than like the 3D stuff, even though I work in 3D a lot. But as far as the scoring, man, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. There's so many amazing scores out there that I think one of my favorites most recently is like The Revenant. It's got several different people on it, Max Richter and Ryuichi Sakamoto. That score is pretty awesome because there's like a mix of like this very kind of German synth stuff, and then mixed with real traditional kind of strings and instruments. So it's got that score is pretty inspiring as far as like sort of bridging these different musical worlds.
What's impressed or excited you the most about making this EP, if anything, Josh? What sticks out the most about it for you?
I'm really just kind of continuing to figure out what I'm doing with Ivy and like hone my skills as far as kind of bridging like the more like avant-garde music with something that like is weighty and like heavy in like a metal sense, but also like appealing to people that like metal, I guess, but also kind of having the freedom to explore around that. Like, I think kind of Sun hits those marks quite a bit. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think, like, for me, every record is just more gratification of exploring new ways to write. And in, like, A Storm of Light, it's very, like, structured songs, and you have to be a little more, like, aware of, you know, like, song lengths and like how structures are working and stuff like that. And Ivy's a little bit more free.
Does this give you more creativity in this band? Does it actually, is this a breath of fresh air for you with your music?
Yeah, it's so much quicker and immediate. I mean, it still takes a while for records to come out, but with bands, and I'm working on like a couple projects now. I don't really know when they'll see the light of day, but it's, you know, it's not because people are like slacking. It's just like, you know, there's multiple people and multiple kind of ideas and input, and then both of these projects we're working remotely. So it's, you know, when people have time to address certain things, and that it's really cool because you end up with, it's very similar to working in a room with musicians. Like, what you would come up with multiple people is not what you would come up with by yourself. And so there's a lot of fun in that way, but I can write a record for Ivy in like a month or two. And depending on if it's like, if it doesn't have live strings or something, like, it can basically be done. So it's easier and more streamlined, and it can definitely lead to more creativity just because there's not really any limitations. So it's pretty cool.
But are there any instrumentals standing out more to you than any right now on the EP? I know it must change every time that you listen to it, and I know these are your babies, but do you have any that stick out for you possibly?
I really don't listen to my music after I make it very much, like any of the bands I'm in, because like by the time I'm done with it, I'm kind of like ready to move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Like, and when I think of, I think I really like the Mind Black Heart, that one, because that one's pretty fresh in my mind because I just did a video for that one for the vinyl release. So, and then as far as like other records, like Zero Sleep, there's this track called Mirror Like, which I really like, and then Grinding Teeth song Afterglow, which has a few different like friends on it. It has Ben Wyman from Dillinger Escape Plan is on that song, and let's see, a friend Shane from Via Vengeance plays drums on it, and then my friend Greg Simons also plays percussion on it, and then Sarah Pendleton from Sub Rosa plays a violin on that one. So that one I really like, which is kind of like how it came out, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
So was there a instrumental that you were working on that totally ended up sounding different than it was intended to?
Not in Ivy, I don't think. I'm working on like a project right now with Dana from Insect Arc and Swans, and that one I'm pretty excited about because I just kind of send her layers, and then she's sending me back these totally deconstructed things that sound almost totally different, but it's using like all the stuff I sent. So that's pretty exciting. With Ivy, like it's more of I start out with ideas and like hone those ideas in, or I'm writing strings like on the computer, and then those strings become real strings like later on down the road. Then it sounds immensely better than the computer stuff, but it's still reminiscent of, or it's still what I wrote. It's just voiced differently.
Who did the artwork for the Obsidian EP? Because I like it. That snake with it, man, that's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, thanks. I did that. It's actually, that's just a photograph. It's probably makes it less cool, but it's a plastic snake in black sand, and then the heart is a anatomical model that I bought and then spray painted high gloss. So it's really like, that's actually one of my favorite record covers that I've done too, and it's just super simple. It's exactly to scale. Like I made a 12 by 12 box, and got a bunch of black sand, put the snake in it and like the heart, and like brushed it all off with a broom and then lit it and shot it. And then for the back cover, I just took out the heart.
What do you hope everyone takes away, or message you hope they get by listening to this EP or any of your music in general, Josh? What do you hope they get from it, man?
I'm just hoping to make music that people like to listen to, really. I think it's, of course, you know, everybody has different moods where they want to listen to different kinds of stuff. So I think Ivy is like a little bit more like introspective, or like good, like driving, or like being on an airplane music, or like, I mean, for listening on albums is just to create music that is fun to listen to. And for creating music for picture, for like film or TV, then it's less kind of about what you're writing and more about how the music you're writing creates the mood of the scene that's happening. And that's where like scoring a picture is like really different than like writing for yourself. And I think that's kind of one thing I've learned in the last like 5 years.
I got to say this too, and you've worked with a lot of musicians, a lot of great bands for visual art. And I mean, you've done a fantastic job, man, honestly. And you've even worked with Ringo Starr. Yeah. How was that? And did you ever think that you'd get that opportunity to work with a Beatle?
No, never in a million years. But it's also like a weird process, because like with like Soundgarden or Neurosis, like we like came up with these ideas very like organically and over a spread of, you know, weeks to months of like, okay, well, what, you know, what's the imagery we want to start with? Like, how do we want like the end result to look? You know, what kind of elements are going to be in it? And with Ringo, it's basically their management just tells the record label, hey, we're going to put something out in like 2 weeks. And because it's Ringo, like everyone's like, okay. So the staff, creative director at Universal basically just says like, hey, here's 2 photos of Ringo, come up with some stuff and send it to me later today. And so that's happened 3 times, and I just send some ideas. There's like generally like 2 or 3 people submitting ideas, and then he's picked my stuff for the last 3 times. And so that's pretty crazy, but and like like it's a huge honor. Like I've never had any contact with him, or not his management or anything. So it's like it's just super fast. Like most of the time, if I know about the project on like Monday, then like it's probably going to come out like the next Monday, like on digital. Like it's just super fast.
Has there been an artist that you worked with that kind of made you nervous and made you think, oh God, I gotta try my best on this one? Have you ever had that moment with working with somebody possibly?
I mean, I really try to put in all my effort for everything, because it's like everything you do for somebody, like it reflects on like your body of work. And
oh sure.
And but I think with Ringo, like there wasn't like a lot of pressure, because it was just like it was very similar to, I used to work at a lot of motion design firms, and they're called pitches, where they'll have like 15 people just pitch ideas, and then the client will say, okay, well, I like these 3, let's continue with that. And then eventually it'll be one idea, and that idea may be like a combination of a few ideas. So with Ringo, it's kind of the same thing. Like you have 4 hours, just make a bunch of stuff. So there's not a lot of pressure with that. I think the biggest pressure I felt was when Soundgarden first contacted me, like, because I didn't even know they were back together or anything. And A Storm of Light played with Shrine Builder in Seattle, and Kim was at the show, and we saw Kim. We were like, holy shit, there's Kim from Soundgarden. And then he bought the Shrine Builder music and then the Storm of Light music, and I did the artwork for both of those. So we had no idea that Soundgarden was back together. And then about a month later, their manager like emailed me. He's like, hey, you want to do work for Soundgarden? And I was like, holy shit. and they're like, we have a release. I think they had already gone through some artwork for it. But they're like, it's really behind schedule. Like we need this like immediately. And that was like a big stress, but that was crazy. Like I never expected them to keep using me after that. And I've done like really everything they've done since that, like 2010. So it's pretty crazy.
And sadly, we lost Chris Cornell. But,
yeah, that was a massive bummer.
And today, I just want to say it's been 3 years since we lost the mighty Vinnie Paul from Pantera and Hell Yeah. So,
oh yeah,
it's crazy,
man.
crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
But hopefully he's up in the skies ripping it up with Dime. Maybe they got an awesome band up there. So.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark, Josh, if you can recall, that said, yeah, I want to try this, or at least attempt it?
That was just like really like being probably like 12, and like just MTV was huge then, and like 120 Minutes was huge. I'm 47, so it was like
I'm 41.
late 80s. Oh yeah. Late 80s, like 120 Minutes, like all the shit that was on there, and I was like, man, I want to learn how to play guitar, and got a pretty crappy acoustic guitar, and just went from there and learned more. And then I got a real crappy electric guitar, learned a little bit more, and I grew up in Phoenix, and it was really hard to keep bands together there because just being young and like not having a lot of money, there wasn't a lot of places to play shows and stuff. So I definitely got lucky kind of living in LA and like working with Neurosis. Then I met the guys from ISIS, and then we started Red Sparowes, and that was a really fortunate sort of turn of events. And just trying not to waste that and keep making music, really.
I know you had a lot of music growing up, and I know you still have a lot of music to this day, but is there an album that you continue to go back and listen to that gives you inspiration? If so, what is it possibly?
God, there's so much stuff I could like. I would say like Joy Division, Closer, and like Pink Floyd, Echoes, and Melvins, like the Lysol one, which is not Lysol anymore because Lysol sued them. And
oh wow.
Man, I'm trying to think like, I think I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, there's just like, now it's weird. Like because I'm like always in front of the computer, like the way I listen to music now is different. I wouldn't say that it's better really, but it's just kind of like a lot of Spotify kind of lists. But I think I always like come back to like a lot of like Sabbath and even like some of the Ministry records and Einstreisen, the Neubauten, and let's see, yeah, I think my tastes are just like all over the map.
But that's good. That's good though. You want to have some diverse in your music taste. I think, because just that one genre, man, is just. God, it could be so boring after a while, It's like, can I expand a little bit? Yeah, it's funny. We played with a drummer for a little bit in a Stormlight, really great guy, but he was pretty young, and he's like, I never heard heavy music until I heard Pelican, and I'm friends with the Pelican guys too, and like me and the bass player are like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, you're like, yeah, or like, what do you listen to? I can't remember what he said, but like, I was like, holy shit. Like, your introduction to like metal is like a contemporary band of like I had been on tour with and stuff like that in Red Sparowes. And I was just like, wow, that's really crazy. I can never imagine that, So I think like I was listening to like Ozzy Osbourne and like that shit, like when I was 10, so it's God. It's crazy on how people get introduced to metal music, and you would think that they've listened to it, but when you're caught off guard and they say no, it's like, huh?
yeah, especially like people that like, you're playing with. It's like, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I've heard people say, even like metal musicians who say, I don't listen to metal music when I'm writing an album. I listen to classical music, or I'll listen to something else that's not even part of metal. And I'm going,
yeah.
Really?
I'll do that too. Like I'll try to, because I don't want to like bite anything. Like, and it's trying to like, when we were writing the first Red Sparowes record, I realized I had ripped off like a Mogwai thing, and it didn't make it on the record because I caught it. But I was like, holy shit, that's like verbatim this Mogwai thing. I'm like, all right, I'm not listening to like any instrumental rock music until I don't think I even listened to that stuff until I quit Red Sparowes. It was like, so I just didn't want to do that. The Storm of Light has a rule though for touring, like it's like no metal in the van, because like generally we'd be touring with like anywhere from 1 to like 4 other metal bands, and it would just be like, all right, we're in the van every day for like 3 to like 10 hours. Like it can be anything except for metal.
Everybody, you want to get out and pick up IIVI's EP Obsidian. It's out right now. You can also pick it up on vinyl, pick it up digitally, and also on CD as well. Josh, how can folks stay in touch with you? Buy some merchandise, tour dates, all that good stuff on what you're doing, or just to say hi? How can they do that, good sir?
The website for Ivy is resonant, ivy.com. It's RESONANTIIVII.com. But an easier way might be Consouling Sounds website, since Ivy is a weird spelling and resonant is weird. But yeah, Consouling Sounds is like, they have a kind of website up. They just did like a lot of promotion with an online zine, and there's actually a full length Ivy kind of movie, not full length, it's a 45-minute movie up there, and yeah, so there's lots to explore.
Before I let you go, Josh, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Sure. Hey, this is Josh from Ivy and A Storm of Light, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Thanks for having me on.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour Podcast. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link, and you definitely want to subscribe to our YouTube link because we got a lot of stuff that's coming up, a lot of giveaways, tickets, things like that, and you definitely don't want to miss out on it. And also get out and pick up Ivy's EP Obsidian. You can pick it up on Consouling Sounds, and do not sleep on these guys, man, and give them a chance, folks. Please give them a chance. You won't be disappointed. So, Josh, man, thanks for doing the interview, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, likewise.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.